I actually should have mentioned something back in books. Sorry, and this is only just a one-off for those of you who follow Marvel Comics and the Omnibus printings. There's a gentleman I follow on YouTube, Near Mint Conditions, the name of his channel. It's the Uncanny Omar, and he's got an in with someone at Marvel. I can't remember the gentleman's name. It's not like it's a big secret. Like he says, David Gabriel is his name. Um, and so he gets previews like way in advance. Like he's already talking about the books that are going to come out like I think next October, is in like 11 months from now. Because the way these work is there's a couple companies that you can pre-order these books like 8 or 9 months in advance. So, but that's to guarantee you get a copy. Because when they print them, they look at the pre-orders, then they add a percentage to that, and then that's the print run. So by getting on the pre-order, this is when the pre-order actually goes to the printer, not the pre-order from what was printed. So like yours is one of the ones in the count to be printed. Anyway, people have been wondering for a while how they're going to keep doing the X-Men omnibus prints, because the ones the Stan Lee era and up through I think Roy Thomas, it's the first 66 issues. Those are in 2 books, and it's just X-Men 1 and 2 Silver Age books. Then the book went into reprints until issue 94, I believe. Yes, believe it or not, at one point in time, X-Men is actually a very low-selling book. So then with X-Men 94, well, Giant Size X-Men number 1 relaunched the line, introduced the new team. That's where Wolverine, Colossus, Storm, Nightcrawler, and I'm forgetting somebody in there, Thunderbird, forgetting him because he died like 3 issues later, Sunfire, that's where they all show up. So then issue 94 is where Chris Claremont took over the run, and that's where the omnibus books go to the labeling of Uncanny X-Men, and there were 4 volumes. But then there was all these events that you really need a whole bunch of other books for the event to make any damn sense, and that's like the Mutant Massacre, the Mutant Massacre is the big one. I'll think of the names of some of the others here in a minute, but it's unimportant. So past a certain point, it's all a bunch of event books, and then like to capture everything that you need beforehand, they have like preludes. They have like prelude to the Mutant Massacre, then the Mutant Massacre. All the mutants, prelude to Fall of the Mutants is before that. And those books all just go in sequence, and it's an unbroken chain of all the issues going between the events. Well, the problem was, how are they going to jump from 4 to the Mutant Massacre? And the solution was Volume 5. But then it led to what, are they just going to make a 6, cut out all the crap that you from the other lines and just have the X-Men issues? Or what are they going to do here? And it would appear that what they're going to do is they're going to release a prelude to the Mutant Massacre book, which is everything that's in Uncanny X-Men Volume 5, plus the first part of X Factor, the first 8 issues, which haven't been collected, but up through 9 through 42 are in all those other event books. So you don't need the X Factor omnibus if you have the others, because now 1 to 42 will be in an unbroken chain in the event books. But it really pissed off a whole lot of people, me included, once I began to look and see what's in this new book in Volume 5, realizing that literally everything in Volume 5 is in this other book, plus what we need to have the beginning of X Factor and some other things. And it's like, Volume 5 is just a waste of fucking money. Which, for whatever it's worth, it's very close to us right now.
Oh.
It's in that box in your hallway.
So is the Mutant Massacre, is that the slaughtering the Morlocks?
That's when Sinister sends the Marauders into the tunnels to wipe out the Morlocks, yeah. And funny enough, like the reason why that involves a bunch of other books is because the people on Thor and a couple of the other books were talking to Chris Claremont, like, man, that sounds like an awesome thing. Like, we get in on that? Like, yeah, sure. And so there's like random Thor issues tied into it, where Thor's down there in the tunnels fighting people, and just, I think it was Walt Simonson. Yeah, I think it's during when Simonson's run on Thor. I think he's the one, and Louise Simonson and a few others.
Is that where Morrow was originally featured heavily, or
no? Morrow doesn't come along until the 90s. Some of the Morlocks somehow wound up in some crazy alternate dimension that Mikhail Rasputin created. And she grew up there and eventually fights the X-Men initially, then joins them, then gets exposed to some machine, I think on the Skrull homeworld, that makes her not ugly. And I think that's how she looks now. Because, like, she only had, like, patches of hair and, like, random bones kind of coming out up here. And it made it so she looked, a little bit more normal.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm sure there's some kind of comment about being who you really are versus superficial in there somewhere. But it's also kind of like in the X-Men movies where Storm's all like, oh no, we're just fine, Rogue. Rogue's like, I can fucking kill people just by touching them, woman. You control the weather. Like, there's a little bit of a difference in our powers here. Like, I might actually want to cure mine and not just be, a plague upon humanity. Whereas, you can make it pretty and snow and stuff.
Yeah, or you could be like, what's this? The one kid that would just spontaneously combust randomly, and
Yeah.
Was that where Wolverine took him into a cave and just murdered him?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I don't know if they've resurrected him yet or not on Krakoa. Hey, they've resurrected all kinds of people on Krakoa that, like, you think, like, I don't know about that, but they do. So, yeah. Anyway, I just wanted to mention that for those of you who happen to follow that kind of thing, because at some point I'm going to talk about those books a little bit more, because I was waiting. I've read the first two Uncanny X-Men Omnibus editions, and I have the third and fourth one, and I've got all the Mutant Massacre and Fall of the Mutant stuff. I've got, like, all the way up to where Jim Lee comes onto the book, which is like the early 90s, if I recall correctly, late 80s, early 90s. And I'm only missing a few things to have everything from the start to the Age of Apocalypse, which is like the mid 90s. That's like 30 years of X-Men crap. And I was waiting to start into the others till I had volume 5, because once I start, I'm going to go. And so now I finally have volume 5, but then I see this and I'm like, oh, damn it. Do I really need those first 8 issues of X Factor?
Yes.
Yes, of course I do, because I've got 9 through 42 from the other books. So yeah, but at the very least, now that I've seen that video, I know for sure I don't need volume 1 of X Factor. So there is that. That's some upside. But yeah, I do have some of the later volumes of X Factor though, because Peter David eventually came onto the book, and he's got a couple. He's got one of the weird ones where, like, his volume 1 and his volume 2, there's a huge gap in between them because someone else was writing the book, and so, like, his volume 1 and volume 2 are not sequential, whereas, like, his Hulk volumes 1 through I think 5 are sequential, because that is, like, apparently the pinnacle writing for the Hulk, the Peter David arc. That's where, like, the Maestro shows up and just all kinds of stuff. Not read it myself, but from everything I ever hear, like, that's the Hulk arc to read. So maybe someday. Right now, I've got to get through those and my weird zany books that I bought, that, like, Knights of Pendragon, or is one of those, like, British Marvel comics that's kind of tied into Captain Britain. And it's just kind of like, wow, they will never reprint this. Like, it's now or never on this one. I got to pull the trigger. Or Savage Avengers, where Conan's part of the team. So it's like, Marvel might lose the rights to Conan again, which they have already. So I don't know if they can ever reprint that book. So yeah, that was a good call, hopefully. But anyway, that's probably about it for books. I talk more about that stuff later sometime. Thank you for watching. This has been a Geek Ball video, Echoes of a Whisper. This has been a clip from one of our podcasts. The link to the actual podcast this is from is in the description of the video if you want to see the entire thing, which we obviously encourage you to do. But otherwise, if you enjoyed what you saw, a thumbs up is always appreciated. Subscriptions and all the rest is definitely appreciated. Comments, as always. But just in general, thank you for watching. Hope you liked it. And check out the other videos we have here on the channel. See you later.